I'm X.
And I'm Z.
And together we're
X and Z. On today's show, we discuss Valentine's Day, Gen Z dating patterns, the Free Britney movement, poignant poetry of a 7-year-old, emojis, accidental side boob, and encrypted protonmail.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
So we're doing a show on Valentine's Day.
Well, for me, Valentine's Day is just Sunday.
Well, for me, I got roses. Did you see?
Yeah, I saw your roses. I matched with someone on Hinge.
What's Hinge?
It's like one of the million dating apps that I have.
Is it like Bumble?
It's the Hinge's slogan. Hinge's slogan is designed to be deleted. So it's like you're gonna find your soulmate on here.
What? It's designed to be deleted?
Yeah.
The profile?
No, the app from your phone. Like if you had a girlfriend, you probably wouldn't have a dating app on your phone.
We shouldn't have the dating app on your phone. One
of the girls I dated after we became quote official took my phone and asked my password, and I told it to her, and then she went through my phone and deleted every dating app.
Well,
I was like, I'll get to it, and she was like, no, I'll get to it. I was like,
well, then she could trust you from that point.
she was a lot.
So on this Hinge one, do you have to, is it like swipe left, swipe right, same idea?
No, it isn't. Like, it doesn't really present things to you in because realistically you look at the profile picture and then you read the bio after. Hinge kind of gives you the person, and it's a lot slower. Like you get more matches, I think, on Hinge. And it's more like, oh, I do. You look through their profile, and Hinge kind of tries to make sure that they're people you'd like. And Hinge,
so it's not like, is Bumble the one that the girl has to ask you first?
Bumble is the girl has to text you first.
Is it like that? Is it the same protection kind of thing?
Bumble and Tinder are almost identical, except Bumble, only the girl can text first.
What about on this Hinge one? Is it the same? Is it?
No, anyone can text first, and you do there's still a matching system, but it's more slow.
Do you think there's better protection in something like that, where the girl has to text first?
No.
Oh. So why do they do it?
Girls. I mean, I know girls. Even if you're a really hot 10 out of 10 guy, you're only going to have 1 or 2 or 3 matches a day, but girls get hundreds. So maybe it's just to stop their inboxes from exploding.
Getting so full. That makes sense.
It's just a systematic thing.
That's how I met your dad too.
Yeah.
On the internet when it wasn't cool.
Yeah. Through a router and a phone line.
Well, no, but I mean, it wasn't. It was a classified ads through MSN.
Through the terminal.
But when I actually sent it for getting friends, and that next day in my inbox there were 400 messages.
Well, that's still what happens to girls.
This is 1997.
And guys,
same thing.
I'm telling you, if you look at a guy, even if the girl and the guy are the same quote level of hotness, you'll the guy will have between 2 and 10. 10 is a hard max.
Getting connections?
Yeah, and girls will have hundreds a day. Basically everyone they swipe right on.
How funny.
Yeah, it's because there's one girl for every 3 guys on dating apps. So supply and demand.
So it's like Alaska. Did you know about that in Alaska?
There's one girl for every 3 guys.
I think it might be more than that.
So that means that guys really have to compete for the ladies.
They have really a hard time finding women in Alaska to marry. So a lot of men just never marry if they stay in Alaska. But I mean, this is generational for decades.
Well, I once had an idea to start a dating app where it would limit the amount of men who could join by the amount of women, so that there would never be a discrepancy. So
it'd have to be a 1-to-1?
Yeah, there'd be an equal amount of men and women.
So they're sorry, today you didn't get in.
Yeah, your joining as a man would be contingent upon more women joining.
But what would happen if too many women, all the guys were let's say they were the undesirable guys got in. When then the girls, they're stuck, they would just leave the app.
Well, I don't know. It's an untested concept.
Yeah.
But my idea, there being more guys than girls on dating apps really hurts guys. So I was like, okay, well,
Oh, so you're trying to even the playing field
yeah,
for the guy.
guys have a tough time. Guys have a way tougher time than girls. Like I know girls like to talk about how horrible it is out there, but at least you can get on a date as a girl. Like girls might not have a good time with the guy they date, but at least they can get on a date. At least they
Yeah,
can
but
get
you don't
to
want
the
to go to a
place.
date that's no fun.
Yeah, but you miss all the shots you would take, and guys can't take any. At least girls can take a few.
So I've been hearing that Gen Zers don't date. Is that you
Yeah,
date?
I
You're a
read
Gen
an
Zer.
article, and it's like Gen Zers aren't dating even less than like you know how millennials like are a little bit less romantic than prior generations in terms of getting married. Like Gen Zers straight up don't date.
Do they not want to date, or is
It's kind of like because it's born out of an aversion to talking to people.
like because you guys don't socialize?
Yeah, and and there's like this psychological thing that exists with us that seems really weird and not possible, but it's actually pretty accurate where there's this illusion of infinite choices. So you never make a choice because there's so many choices.
You feel like the next one would be better?
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
So you end up being like, well, I could be with this guy and he has this and this. So instead I'm going to find a guy who on Bumble who's better, right?
So you don't choose at all.
Yeah, you
I think
never end
that
up choosing.
when
More
we-
so girls than
When
guys,
we were
I
kids,
think. But
probably the difference was that we almost exclusively dated within our cohort, right? I mean, either we had kids around our neighborhood that we started when we were younger, being girlfriend, boyfriend with, or we were at school and we would find those kids. So you guys, because a lot of you go to schools outside of your neighborhoods and kids don't play in the street like when we were kids. So maybe that's why you guys never really socialized with anybody that's like your neighborhood brothers and sisters, the kids you were super close to.
In my high school, people like had girlfriends and boyfriends, but not most people.
But I think your high school is a good example of a lot of kids not coming from the area.
Yeah, but
I think that happens a lot more now.
I don't know. I know
when
that
we were kids, you went to your local school. You very seldom went outside of your local school. And then kids now, it's much more common. I mean, even in the high schools in your area before you went to the school you went to, a lot of them developed programs, the flight program or the culinary program to have certain kids want to come to their school. So these are no longer neighborhood schools where a bunch of kids from the neighborhood that all grew up together are going to the same school.
Well, I don't know why proximity would prevent me from dating someone.
I don't think it's so much the proximity that would change it. It's the fact that you didn't grow up with these kids. So you grow up in middle school and elementary school and you're around your neighborhood. By the time you get to high school and you're ready to date, you really know these kids. You know their parents, you know they're your buddies. They hung out in the street with them. You end up dating a few of them back when I was a kid. You guys don't really have that because I don't think you have that. You didn't play outside with your friends. That just doesn't happen as much.
Well, not most of us, but
yeah. Well, I think some, yes, but I think a big majority of you
we're just scared to talk to people.
Yep.
Like I think I don't think it's that. It's just we don't ask people. Like it's hard.
That's what I'm saying.
us.
You're not close to anybody necessarily because you're never around groups of people for long periods of time. You don't stay together for 10, 12 years that you do when I was a kid. We were the kids in our neighborhood. We went to school with those kids.
Yeah. Well, it's really a struggle for Gen Z if you want to, which I guess a lot of us don't.
Well, that's true. I think it's also in the news about the Free Britney movement. Is she a millennial or is she a Gen Xer like me?
She's 39.
So what does that make her? What year was she born?
Pretty close to one of them.
Pretty close to one of them. So she's either a Gen Xer or a millennial.
She's either in like the early Gen millennials or the late Gen Xers.
Let's see. She was born in 81 or 82. And what did we say the Gen X is? I think she's a Gen Xer.
Britney Spears generation.
Nope. She's a millennial. Gen X ended in 1980.
That would make sense.
So she's a millennial, one of the early millennials.
She's like a really early millennial. She's like a borderline millennial.
So the big thing on Hulu has been the New York Times kind kind of expose on the Free Britney movement.
I didn't watch it.
I watched it. It was interesting. It was about her conservatorship, but kind of all the stuff that led up to her ending up in that position. Her dad kind of seemed like a grifter her whole life. He's the one that wanted her to get famous. I mean, she did have talent, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he cared if she got famous. He just wanted to be rich, and that was kind of what he was looking for. But then, as she became like the Mickey Mouse girl when she was with Justin Timberlake in the Mickey Mouse Club.
She did?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember any of that.
No, this was before you. I think you were even born. I think like we're talking 1996, 97. And then she finally got a breakout deal. She sang those songs and she ended up platinum. I mean, she went fast. Disney, I don't know if it was Disney based or whatever, but she ended up.
I doubt it. Her songs were all sexy.
Yeah, they ended up really sexy.
So probably not Disney.
So at that point, then they started like turning on her and they're like, well, is Britney too sexy? Is she growing up too fast? What happened to the girl next door? Will we, that kind of thing. And then she started getting interviews and they would ask her those things, more and more and more. She dated Justin Timberlake. They dated for a long time. And the question was always, have you and Justin Timberlake had sex? Like, that's what they were looking to get the answer of.
Isn't that what you do when you date someone?
I guess so, but I think they were looking to see, like, answer the question, like, where did you sleep with Justin Timberlake? And she wouldn't for a really long time, and he didn't either when they would ask him. But I think once they broke up, he did say that they did.
Were they like a purity ring couple? Like,
no, it wasn't that. It was just kind of like, we're not talking about it. Back then it just wasn't something you just didn't talk about.
Like,
it.
Most of my friends and not friends sexual histories are like an open book. Like, they'll tell me.
I think you might talk to your friends
but
about it,
like,
but I don't know that you would be on
well.
national TV and just talk about your sex life.
I would.
Especially if you were like a pop star. A guy would, but girls probably don't want to.
I've never been a girl before.
Good point. So anyway, so she ends up in this kind of, Diane Sawyer interviews her, gets her to cry. Justin Timberlake's telling everybody that, they broke up, but it was her fault because she cheated, kind of alludes to that.
Did she cheat?
I don't think they know. Like, it's just one of those things he alluded to. And so the press ran with it. Paparazzi ran with it, and they kind of followed her all the time. And in the beginning, she was cool with it. She was making a lot of money. The paparazzi were just taking pictures. No press is bad press, and everything was fine. But I think as the years went on, when she got finally with Kevin Federline and she got married, she had kids, maybe she went through like postpartum and those things. I think she kind of started falling down a rabbit hole that was not a good place for her. And I think she ended up in mental health institution because
I don't know a lot about Britney Spears. I know that she went from famous to crazy.
That's basically what they
called
her.
And then everyone's like, she's crazy now, and that was it.
Yeah, that's basically what they called her. But I mean, if you look at what they said, see, I never really, I remember Britney Spears. I remember.
I did it again.
I probably watched that 2020 interview with Diane Sawyer way back in the day when she made her cry, but I don't remember it. But I mean, when they put it all together and what they did in that expose, it was sad because you didn't realize what they did, like the media and the press did to torment her. So she falls off the deep end, and then the dad swoops in and he's like, okay, well, now she needs a conservatorship, puts her in the conservatorship, and then she's kind of stuck there. She has to do what he says. The only way she gets paid if she does what he says. And then it's just kind of like a big mess, downward spiral.
From what I read, the weird thing is she's cool with the conservatorship. She's not cool with her dad being
the head of the conservatorship.
Being on it at all.
Yeah.
Like, why is she cool? Does she know she's still crazy? And she's like, well, yeah, I need a conservatorship. Or
maybe she feels like her money will be more cared for there, so she doesn't have that temptation to spend it all on something.
I guess because she wants her father out, and she wants the management company she's cool with.
I think she also was okay with her mom stepping in because her mom went to court with her, I guess, this last summer. So the mom maybe was okay, which they never really said if the mom and dad got divorced. I think they did. I don't remember. But can you imagine, like, not knowing who to handle your money? And then
I you know me, I'm very in my own finances, so I wouldn't want to give it up to anybody.
I think the sad part was they showed a lot of like her social media, her more recent social media posts.
Isn't she like a mom now? Like,
she is. She's been a mom for a long time.
But isn't she like just a normal mom now?
I don't know, but she's still she went to Vegas and she had a show in Vegas. She took over Celine Dion's like
Well,
arena.
what's her social media?
Well, the social media was kind of, they said that she was kind of cryptically giving, like she can't speak outwardly about the conservatorship, but she would like cryptically like take a picture. She's in Italy somewhere, and she takes a picture of like a hole that has a in a wall that has a vista behind it, and she posts like it says something to the order of
I wish I could spend my money.
no, it was more it's more cryptic. It's like
Oh.
I want, you know, we will all see freedom one day, like those kind of like things. And it was sad because like I guess if I saw her social media post and I wasn't thinking about the conservatorship and all that.
Well, most of the time those cryptic posts are just stupid. But
normally, but I don't know. She did a lot of them, so I think it's
trying to say something.
Yeah.
Cry for help.
She actually stopped working until she said she wouldn't work anymore unless they took her dad off as the conservator.
Yeah.
And I think he's still the conservator of her person, but not her finances.
How does she, like, if she wanted out of the conservatorship, would she just have to prove her mental fitness?
But I guess it's more complex than that. Not only does she have to prove that, but she has to prove why it's better for her to be out of it. Like, it's some serious, like when you get into a conservatorship, like normally.
But she didn't like consent to a conservatorship.
No.
Like,
the courts granted it.
Forced her into it essentially.
It originally was temporary, and then it became permanent. I think the dad made her appear completely insane. And then the courts were like, okay, well, somebody needs to take care of her fortune. You can do it. And it was another lawyer, too, that was doing it. But, yeah, it was...
Well, the court system back at it again, being not good at anything.
I don't know about that, but this was definitely sad. But that's the whole Free Britney movement. Now the people that have been working on this Free Britney movement for, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years.
They say it's been around since 2008.
Yeah, and they feel like now they're getting vindicated because she's finally, like, admitting, yeah, I didn't want to be in this.
I want to know why so many people are, like, rallied around one person. Like, that's a very specific social cause.
Right now they're rallied around her because of people have seen that New York Times thing on Hulu.
That's true.
But I think that they were those that were before, Britney had super fans. Absolutely.
I guess so. Wow.
Absolutely.
I've never been a super fan of anyone, so I don't know what the mentality's like when you're that obsessed with a person.
I think she had big, major super fans for a long time. Kids that were, 13, 14 when she first started coming up, and then stayed with her until they were 30. I mean, they just thought she was the coolest thing ever. She could sing. They liked how she danced. They didn't care that she was a little bit nutty. They were fine with all that.
She always seemed like a good lady.
Yeah, I think she seems fine. She's smart too. She's very smart.
She is?
Yeah.
I
didn't realize that.
Smart Britney Spears.
Yeah, because they said that she handled all of her stuff. Like, they didn't just tell her, this is how you'll dance. Or, like, she hired all of her dancers. She handled all of her finances. She said when she would perform and when she wouldn't. Like, she did all of that. That was all on her, and she did all of it. So she's actually really smart. It was pretty impressive. I have a different view of how I see Britney Spears now. I didn't think of her really one way or the other, but I realized, wow, she's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Pretty terrible to take away an impressive person's entire autonomy.
Mm-hmm. Well, and she got that. She had a venue in Las Vegas. You know, those shows that are like perma shows there. And she was supposed to come out and do a dance segment.
Like before 2020?
Yeah, it was before that. And a bunch of people showed up. You know, have you ever seen that guy on Ellen that... I
don't like Ellen.
I know. Well, he doesn't just do Ellen, but it's the guy that watches... He watches things on YouTube that are cooking things, and then he kind of like makes fun of the people. You ever seen him? Anyway, he was the guy that was there. He was hosting it, and it was supposed to be this big thing, and she came out to perform. Everybody was waiting for her, and she came out to perform, and she just got out of where she came out from, walked down the stairs, and she was supposed to start singing. She just kept walking and got into the limo and left. And people were like, "What?" And like everybody disappointed. They didn't know what was happening, and basically that's when she kind of announced that she supposedly went away. Like, she stopped posting on social media. She stopped everything. And then they announced she wasn't going to do the show in Vegas. And I think that was when she said, I'm not going to do it anymore. And they say that in a conservatorship, you can't force them into mental institutions. But the dad kind of alluded that she went in, and everybody said, but she wasn't crazy. Like, did you force her? So nobody really knows. That's the sad part.
Can you force her to work?
No, I don't think so.
So she can always just stop being the golden goose.
Yeah, I think was her plan finally. Like, I'm not going to do it unless you guys don't. Which I guess the courts could say, what do we care? It's not our money.
I'm surprised the courts allow such a blatant taking away of rights.
Generally speaking, a conservatorship is like for somebody who's elderly and has Alzheimer's, and somebody needs to handle their estate. They can't make a trust because they're no longer capacity.
It's a bummer because that's the kind of thing that should be taken to like a higher court and deemed unconstitutional.
Well, like they shouldn't have. Well, I think they have their place, right? I mean,
well, of course they have their place, but like not
like maybe limiting
for
who
a 40-year-old woman with her mental facilities
she was
in
way
order.
Younger when they put it in 2012.
Yeah, but now she seems fine. She was like
so 29.
Now she seems fine, and she's openly like, yeah, my father is terrible.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, part. You know how the SCOTUS can not take cases?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of cases that like maybe they should take. You know?
Oh, like those kind of things that keep going. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's and then like the lower courts ruled dumb, and then no one ever corrects them.
It's pretty sad.
Yeah.
Speaking of mental health, I think that we might be in a pretty bad way when it comes to little kids these days because they're stuck at home and they're sad. There was a poem a little 7-year-old wrote. It was super sad. I saw it the other day. This is what he wrote. Boring online school. Today is just another day in a long line of days. Staring at a dumb screen. Just boring. Online school. That's the only thing that did happen. It's the only thing that is happening. That's the only thing that will happen. How sad he's 7. He wrote that poem.
That was profound.
That was profound for a 7-year-old, but imagine what he's dealing with.
Well,
sitting in front of a screen every day.
Well, I'll happily call the teachers unions and tell them it's time to go back, guys.
Yeah, I think it sucks.
Didn't Biden say, or the CDC was like, schools need to start coming back?
Well, that was part of his 100-day plan. His 100-day plan was...
How many days are we? We're approaching 50 days, no?
No, we're not.
Wait.
Like in
no,
4 weeks.
we're not approaching 50 days. For some reason, my brain was like January 1st.
We're not even at 4 weeks. I think it's 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my brain, for some reason, thought that Biden's been the president for all of 2021.
Nope. No, that was his thing. It was to go back. And within his first 100 days, but the CDC just released their guidelines. They're pretty serious guidelines, and they almost make it to where even if community spread is super low, they still have to maintain 6 feet. But it says, this is the caveat, it says children must maintain 6 feet as much as possible. So I think when they start putting that wording in there, it's pretty much like day 1, the teachers are like, you guys must be 6 feet apart. Day 2, they're like, hey, everyone, 6 feet. Day 3, they're like, screw it. You're not going to listen to me.
There's boogers in my hair.
Like, oh, well, guys, go where you need to go. So I think that that's the reason for the language. I know some people have taken it like really hard. Like, oh, my God, they're never going to open. I think they will. I think it's just they're making that. They're being very cautious with what they put in those guidelines.
I know that the Newsom recall qualified.
I did hear that.
It didn't qualify, but it has enough signatures to qualify.
1.5 million.
But they need to get a couple more. 1.5. They need to get a couple more.
I think he wanted one. I think they want 1.8
because at the rates that they're already counting the signatures and some of them already are dropping off. Yeah. So at the rate, if it stays at that rate, then they need 1.8. But yeah, they want more because the attorney, I think it's the attorney general, can decide signatures aren't valid or something.
Yeah. And it's like that with even when you go to become governor, you have to to become part of the office, they can look at the signatures.
Well,
and if they don't,
don't
match,
they need to go and get a couple more if they want a recall election.
I think that they probably will. Did you see, who did they say was running? So the mayor of San Diego.
No one is officially running yet, but he's probably going to run.
And there was somebody else.
John Cox is probably going to run.
I think Mike Chernovic. I don't even know how to say his name.
He's
a right-wing guy.
There's this one Democrat that I heard was promising, but I don't remember his name. So I'll get back to you on that guy.
Well,
or he might have been an independent.
You know, when Gray Davis was recalled, I think 2003. Was that 2003? There were like 34 people that ran.
Yeah, and one of them was a prostitute, and one of them was a felon from Kentucky. And one of them was like, there are a lot of people.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Gary Coleman. I know you don't know who Gary Coleman is, but he used to play in a sitcom like back in the early 80s. There were a lot of people. There was one guy that was like a wizard. He ran.
California's got a really weird track record because Reagan was an actor, Schwarzenegger is an actor.
I'm surprised California didn't vote for Trump because they like movie stars.
Yeah, but California is even bluer than it was 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah,
so
for sure.
now it's basically just you have to be an actor and a Democrat, as opposed to just an actor
and a Democrat. Although, I think everybody at the time liked Arnold Schwarzenegger because Gray Davis.
Schwarzenegger is likable.
Well, Gray Davis was such a limp
Was Gray
bizkit.
Davis a Republican or a
He
Democrat?
was a Democrat.
Yeah, everyone. I remember.
You know why they recalled him, right?
No.
It was because
He barely scooted by when he got elected, right?
I think that, and he also didn't have a really high rating.
Yeah, he had like a 40% approval rating.
But I think what in fact I know was they wanted to add a extra tax on car tags, and people were like, "No, no way! Like we're not going to do that."
Well, that's already a car
actually
tag. A car tag is entirely taxed.
Yeah, but there was more. It was like an extra tax on the tax.
I know, but like tax that's a lot of tax.
Well, that's what it was, and people were like, "No, we're not going to do it." But you know what? It went through anyway. Yeah, either it went through during Arnold Schwarzenegger's time, right after him, or it went through Moonbeam. But it definitely went through.
I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger hates Donald Trump.
Arnold Schwarzenegger hates Donald Trump. His videos are nuts. Like he seriously goes at him.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, I don't know about as a governor, but he's a good guy.
He was a horrible governor.
Yeah, not as a governor.
He took us from we were the eighth largest economy in the world, and he took us down to the 12th largest economy.
I think we weren't back up, and I'm sure Newsom will put us back down.
We were Moonbeam got us up to the 5th largest economy.
Newsom's like, we're not going to make any money.
Nah, I think that his biggest thing, and I don't know. I mean, my other choice was Cox when I went to go.
Well, yeah,
to vote for him, but
that's
I mean,
a rock and a hard
I was
place.
hoping that Newsom would be good. I assumed since he was a lieutenant governor.
Well, apparently Moonbeam even doesn't like Newsom.
Yeah, I told you he's the one that said,
Governor Moonbeam's like, bro, you can't blame Trump anymore.
Yeah, you just lost your person to blame.
Which like Trump's pretty terrible, but like a lot of the failures of the pandemic were on the state level, and Newsom sure didn't handle any of that well.
That's right. He certainly hasn't. And he wasn't the only one.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about Cuomo last
Cuomo,
week.
and they're finally getting him.
They're actually going after him. I was shocked. I saw it on regular mainstream media going after Cuomo.
Well, I mean, when you pretend you're like a superhero for a million months.
He wrote a book.
Yeah, and like...
He had a hero's tour.
Isn't that like profiteering on that? Like if you wrote a book?
You'd think, right? Not only that, they were trotting him out to like possibly run for president. That would be horrible. He's not. They don't even really like him in New York. Like he wasn't even that popular of a governor. So all of a sudden they think he does this wonderful job on COVID, and we need to make him president. That's crazy.
New York ain't doing so good right now. So like New York should really be asking for a governor that can help them rebuild.
Well, he is. I'd say he's the Dem equivalent of Trump.
Him? You're sure him? Yeah, him.
Yeah, he's a mob boss. He's horrible. And you know what? He gets cover. His brother's in the media, so he gets cover for that. It sucks.
We also gets covers because the Dems are very slow to admit their mistakes.
Yeah, I think
Dems are very like, the Republicans do all this wrong, which the Republicans do a lot wrong. But when the Dems do something wrong, what? We didn't do that.
I don't know if I agree with that because look at Al Franken. Al Franken was immediately tossed out during the Me Too movement.
Well, yeah, but that wasn't the Democrat. That was a Me Too movement.
No, but it was the Democrats. He was a Democratic senator, and he was actually a really good Democratic senator. And the stuff that he did, you guess you could point your finger or whatever you want, but he immediately, that happens a lot more. I would say it happens a lot more with the Dems than the Republicans. The Republicans won't admit fault,
will tolerate it.
And they just say, I'm not resigning. Oh, you're calling me to resign? I'm not doing it.
Yeah,
so that's the difference.
Moral of the story is don't harass or assault women.
Yeah, I think that should be what we say, right? What we do.
It was pretty simple, right? Like, hey, don't harass or assault women.
Well, you'd think that would just be commonplace, but it's not.
Well, like, yeah, I don't know why people. I've never understood the mindscape of a man who does those things.
I think that for a long time, men just thought, previous generations, they thought that they were just entitled to do those things.
Well, I mean, like, There's also like a thin line between like work flirting and like work harassing, because like sometimes like when you have like a power dynamic, like a senator, maybe don't. Like when he's your boss, essentially.
I think even in the workplace, I mean, I know a lot of that stuff has changed a lot, but I think even in the workplace, there's still a pretty high tolerance for what.
Yeah, there is. But like, you also have to like, as a man, like it's your responsibility as a man to think to yourself, like, am I making this person uncomfortable, or are they also in on the flirt? Because some people are like work flirters. Like I'm a work flirter, and like a lot of girls will give it back and a lot of girls won't give it back. And you have to know the difference. And not flirt with the girls who don't give it back.
And stop. Yeah, that's right. So that's the difference. But I think that for a long time that it didn't matter.
Yeah.
It didn't matter who.
Well, I'm pretty sure the mindset was more like, oh, well, if you get flirted with and you're a girl, like you let him flirt with you.
That's what it was. Yeah. Or it was.
Or whatever. Talk to you or touch your butt or whatever.
What were you wearing?
Yeah.
Like, did you look too sexy? Did you act too... That was what the Britney thing was. That when Diane... I think it was Diane Sawyer that was interviewing her on 2020, almost asked her, well, what did you do to deserve the way people are treating you?
Wasn't that a woman interviewing a woman?
Yeah, and even women back then did it.
Dog.
Yeah, even women back then.
You were playing for the same team.
I think that it was much more common for women of that era. She's probably... I'd say Diane Sawyer's probably a boomer. And she definitely was...
Is Diane Sawyer the one who interviewed Donald Trump and Trump lost it? Or am I thinking of a different person?
No,
Who interviewed Donald Trump in 60 Minutes? It wasn't Diane Sawyer?
Leslie Stahl.
He lost it, right?
Donald Trump? A couple times. But she was really good at wrangling him back. Like, she didn't take his bait, and she's actually really good at that. Like, one of the few that's good at that.
That was a digression.
Well... I think that now, hopefully, men have learned.
Men have not learned
to be a little bit better.
It's not. It's going to take a few generations.
So even the Gen Zers, they can't. I think you're better. I think you're far
like,
better.
Maybe per capita, like there's less people, but like there's still going to be men harassing women until we really shun it as a society, and like we still have like a whole. We still have like a whole bunch of people in our Congress and in our society that are like still women blaming.
Oh, you mean because we still have the older generation that's still in there?
No, even the young people, like young people I've seen, there's a lot of incels that are my age.
Yeah, so, I think there are a lot of them even in the Gen Xers.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, it's gonna take a couple generations.
Well, think about what they did with Kavanaugh when he went in and.
Yeah, Kavanaugh's on the freaking Supreme Court.
Ford, they kind of basically asked her, well, what were you doing for that to happen to you?
Yeah, but the Republicans were going to say anything to get Kavanaugh on this bench.
But I think, don't be surprised, that generation still believes that. Like, what did you wear? How did you dress?
Yeah, but if it were Obama's nominee up there getting questioned for
I'd like
sexual
to think,
assault.
I'd like to
first of all, Obama would probably be like, "Oh, never mind." But let's pretend Obama wasn't like, "Oh, never mind." Then
it's really hard for me to pretend.
I bet you that the Republicans would be like, "Oh, you shouldn't worry about what you were wearing, sweetie. Speak your truth." And the Dems would be like, "What were you wearing?"
Oh yeah, for sure. So I think it's across generations. It doesn't matter your political affiliation.
I just think it's funny.
Yeah, for sure. They'll absolutely say the opposite.
Yeah, so
yeah, that generation doesn't care. Now, would the younger generation, like the millennials that are in Congress, be like that? I don't think so.
Well, most of the millennials in Congress are like on the super leftist side.
I'd like to hope.
Oh wait, that new guy isn't he from Texas? Is really young and pretty. Like I think he's on the real right side.
The guy in the wheelchair.
I don't know. He just got elected to the Congress.
There's one in a wheelchair who kind of lied. He was supposed to be a Green Beret, but
I don't know.
They say he didn't become that because he got in a car accident and became a.
He looked like he was standing up to me, so I didn't.
Oh no, that might not be him. There's another congressman.
I think he's from Texas, but I don't remember.
In fact, I think the guy in the wheelchair is like one of the youngest that ever.
Yeah, the youngest. Yeah, he was the youngest congressperson, and he was a Republican.
No, the guy in the wheelchair wasn't the one I was thinking about. He's the other guy that you were talking about that was standing up. He's the youngest.
Yeah, and he was.
Yeah, but he's very far right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
he's really far right.
I don't think
he looks like the guy like her.
I don't know that he's like a QAnon type far right.
No,
like
I think he's like traditional far right.
Yeah,
not conspiracy. Like you can be far right and not be crazy. Like it's just
You can also be pretty progressive and not be crazy.
Well,
so.
yeah, like there's like a pretty big divide. Like
People don't learn that though.
Like you can have really leftist ideologies, like, and not be all up high and mighty about things all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like me and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez share like a significant portion of our beliefs, but I still don't love the way that she presents herself as always so angry at everyone.
I don't think it's so much that she's angry. I think it's that she also
she's always like, well, I'm this is how it actually is, and I am AOC and I have the moral high ground.
I think that's different than being like angry.
Well, it comes off as
but
like
I think
anger.
who they call the what is it, the squad,
yeah,
they kind of all
pretend
do that
to be like the best thing since sliced bread.
And I think that's one of the problems with the Democrats. I think we try to pull this moral high ground stuff and it doesn't always come across the way that it should. Yeah,
but I think a lot of the more established Democrats are like they turn up their noses at that behavior because they know it's not good in the long run. But like here I'm gonna say it because my friend called me conservative the other day and I wasn't happy about that.
What?
Yeah, she for some reason, I don't know if it's because like I don't do drugs or something, her brain was like, you're like conservative, right? And I was like, not even a little bit. Like me and AOC agree like pretty eye to eye on most things, like very far from most Republicans in the Congress. Like
that's so weird.
Yeah, well,
just because of that, like I don't do drugs.
Well, she's one of those people that goes around and says all the buzzwords. So
she's super woke.
She's like meme woke. Like she woke. Yeah, like like the other day she said stuff about like a communist utopia that she wanted, and I was like, how would that go? And she couldn't tell me, and she's like, I'm just joking, I don't know.
You think she was joking?
Yeah, I think she just likes to say all the buzzwords.
She heard something somewhere and can get it out.
All Gen Zers do it.
What?
Unless they're conservative, obviously, but
they probably have their own buzzwords then.
But Gen Zers on the more liberal side, which is what you'll see, because Gen Zers are the young people. Young people are generally liberal.
Yeah.
One of the big things is like screw capitalism. Like
oh yeah.
Like capitalism is evil, and it's like, okay, guys, Bernie Sanders is a capitalist. Let's calm down. And it's like they want this, that, and the other, and they always say socialism, and like socialism is like the thing, and it's like, guys, like,
I think
define socialism.
I think they don't understand that they've decided on this really bad branding called democratic socialism, and unfortunately, they have no idea.
Well, democratic socialism is the proper term, but democratic socialism is essentially being a proponent of a mixed economy with heavy social programs.
Yes, and that's what it should have been marketed as,
but it would be
wasn't.
You would have they need to come up with a different name.
Yes, the branding was horrible.
Yeah, the branding's terrible. Because if you say
socialism.
If you say socialism or communism in America, it's like the word welfare. Do you know welfare isn't a bad word, but if you say the word welfare to an American, the red light goes off. Even in my brain, like the word welfare is like, yeah.
Well, and even that's what I told you, the PM of Denmark, because somebody said, oh, well,
yeah, you're socialist.
They kept saying you're a socialist. He said, we're not socialist.
We're a capitalist with a heavy welfare state.
No, he said we're a mixed economy with a heavy welfare state. And that he wanted it to understand that we're not socialism. We're not what Venezuela is. So the problem is that the Democratic Socialists decided that they would have really bad branding and call it the absolutely most wrong thing you could possibly call it.
Yeah, well,
and then think that you're going to get really conservative people on board, and that was never going to happen.
By the like, no one called the New Deal socialism, but the New Deal is essentially what they call socialism today.
Yes.
Like, FDR wasn't like FDR, right? Am I crazy?
Mm-hmm.
FDR.
No, you're right.
FDR wasn't like socialist reform. He was like New Deal. Like he gave it a name, and then LBJ was like Great Society. He wasn't like socialism.
Yeah, no.
Like they need to have names.
That's right.
That aren't socialism.
Think about it. Even in history, if we look back, so during the time of McCarthyism, when they were trying to seek out all of the communists, right?
Communist was
the communist. The
correctly
word communist,
defined.
but the word communist was the bad word. So it was really easy to go after those people. And you'd think that the Dems would have looked to history and been like, what are some of the words that they really hate? Because the Republicans did. The Republicans looked to history and said, you know what? We can call them all communists, and then everybody's going to start hating that. And that's exactly what they did. They were able to brand that the right
like
way.
If you go open up Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto, communism isn't like, it may not be a very viable idea, but it isn't like the most evil idea on planet Earth. But it doesn't matter. Americans don't like the word. The word is now bad.
Well, because we look back to different times in history, and the communist regimes were bad regimes. They did things that, even though some of the things were good. Look at Cuba. I mean, everybody was literate in Cuba.
Cuba
That's
has
great.
some
They
good
have
things.
amazing people that were taught medical. Their medical schools are
Taxi
amazing.
drivers are paid more than doctors.
Well, but that's
So that's something
what I'm
that in
saying.
an American's brain
But
will
there
be
were
like,
things
what?
that were good that came out of that
Yes.
communist idea. But overall, most of it was bad.
Also, they're not communist because in a communist system, there wouldn't be money, and they have money in Cuba.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying, like,
That was the moniker that everybody
I'm
was
just saying,
given.
like, all these places that
Guess
are
what?
quote
There's money in
communist
China,
regimes.
too,
I know, but all these
we call
places
it
that
the
are quote communist
Communist
regimes
Party.
aren't even accurately communist. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, and there's very few actual socialist countries out there.
There is,
Like even
there isn't.
Venezuela and China, I think, are the two you could probably get the closest to calling socialists.
China's like the capitalist powerhouse of the world. I don't know why anyone uses the word socialist for China.
I think it's because how the government owns everything.
But the government doesn't own everything.
But they own all of the major industries. The government has a hand in everything. They're on the boards.
Well, yeah.
Like they're into everything. You
I
can't
think-
do anything without government
I
approval.
think totalitarianism more accurately describes that.
Yeah, but we're talking about just the monetary
Yeah,
marker, right?
Whatever.
So I guess there's a little skerfuffle going on between Gen Z and the millennials.
It's not a skerfuffle.
Yeah, it's a
just
skerfuffle.
It's just a difference, and it's not even accurate.
So I guess that has to do with the laugh cry emoji.
Well, I read a little bit of the article, and it said that Gen Zers don't use the laugh cry emoji, and it's not cool anymore. Which everyone still uses the laugh cry that I know. So
No, they did TikToks making fun of millennials who use it like they said several hundred times a day.
Well, yeah, some people do it with every
Like,
text, and then it
excessively.
loses all meaning.
And then also it was the other two things that were off was side boob and skinny
Side-
jeans.
Side boob?
So I guess millennials like to show side boob and Gen Zers are like knock it off.
Well, I'm always down for some side boob.
I don't know who's making these rules.
Yeah.
But Gen Z, maybe they're girl Gen Zs. They're like put your side
Skinny
boob away.
jeans. Skinny jeans are terrible.
You've
so
always
that I
hated
get.
skinny jeans, but is it because you're a Gen Zer?
Well, it seems like my generation agrees with me, so maybe.
I'm trying to think. No, I think your generation wears skinny. Your
No, we
brother
don't.
wears skinny jeans.
My brother's a weird 13-year-old. Give him a couple of years. No, Gen Zers like baggy things.
So you're maybe that's why.
Have you ever seen Billie Eilish?
Yeah, but she's an outlier.
No, she's not.
You think she's a typical Gen Zer?
I think that a lot of Gen Zers will. You have to understand that I'm at the very end of very beginning of Gen Z, so I have a little bit of millennial-y things about me.
Yeah.
But people who are really in the jungle midst of Gen Z, like Billie Eilish is a pretty big role model.
She's about your age. How is she not?
No, she's not. She's like 17. Well, she's 18 now, but I'm 20.
Yeah.
She was like a 2003 baby. That's like a whole other ball game.
We were already in the Iraq War. Well, everything had changed.
No, it's just that like Billie Eilish theoretically could have still been hanging out with like 16 and 15-year-olds when I was hanging out with 18 and 19-year-olds.
Yeah, that's true.
Like it's different.
Well, I think that in your age, you guys see a couple of years as a massive difference.
Yeah,
Where,
apparently
like,
more than you guys did.
No, because 2 years is nothing. It's so
You're
not.
like, I dated a senior when I was a freshman.
I did date
If
a
anyone
senior.
dated a
That's
senior
right.
while they were a freshman in my high school, the senior was a pedophile.
That's
and
so
everyone would
weird.
tell them they were a
No one
pedophile.
would ever First of all, I don't even think in high school we used the word
And when
pedophile.
my friend was 17 and she was dating like a 23-year-old, we all were like, he's a pedophile.
No, when I was 18, I dated like a 26-year-old.
13?
18, not 13.
Oh. Well,
No, when I was 13, I dated the senior. No, I'm kidding.
Well, when you were 18, yeah. First of all, what does the senior want with like a freshman? Like freshmen are like middle schoolers. It's weird.
What was like later in my freshman year?
Oh well,
Because we went to prom.
I don't get it.
What do you think they wanted? Of course, they want something, but that isn't.
Was he like the lame kid who couldn't get like a senior girl?
No, but he had come from another school. he was
whatever.
like the quarterback at his old school, and then he came to our school, and they kind of didn't let him play a lot, so he wasn't as cool as the other
I don't
kids.
know. But the 18 and the 26 thing, I mean, it's technically legal.
I was probably closer to no. You know what? I take that back. It was after my senior year. I had just turned.
My
18.
friend is 19 and she's smashing like a 24-year-old.
But I will
now,
tell you
so
that 26-year-old is now doing life in prison. Isn't that crazy?
you really know how to pick them.
Listen, he wasn't bad at the time, I don't think, but he ended up being a pedophile. Do you want to hear that
Wait
story?
a minute. I was right.
No, the story is that he became a police officer
Oh.
and in Northern California, and at some point on the beat, he picked up these 2 young girls who were runaways, and he took them, and I read about this because I hadn't had contact with them in forever. He took them to a hotel and paid for the hotel to help them,
Why
right?
didn't he take them home? Oh, well.
I guess because the girl had come from a like a family that it was danger for her to be at home. Took her to a hotel. I think took the girl that was the runaway. I don't really know how the whole story goes. I can't remember it all. Anyway, he ends up going back to the hotel and either raping or whatever this little girl. I think she was like 13, 14
Well,
years
that's no
old.
fun.
And yeah, they got him for kidnapping. So I think
Well,
that's
yeah.
like life in prison.
Yeah, kidnapping's
practically. I
bad.
think 25 to
You'll
life.
Get, like, I didn't realize.
Do you know
how
why
much-
that is?
Not really.
Because the Lindbergh baby. So way back, like when Papa was a baby, there was a prominent family, the Lindbergh family, and their baby was kidnapped. And in order to find the kidnappers and get them like in jail, they made the sentence kidnapping like murder, worse than murder. Like you get 25 years to life if you kidnap. So you have to be really careful. Anyway, so this bad guy, he ends up like raping this little 13-year-old girl, and now he's doing 25 to life. And he actually got married and had like an 8-year-old kid when he did it. Isn't that horrible?
Yeah, it is pretty horrible.
So, but I was 18 and
If
when he was
you
26.
are driving someone somewhere and they are like, stop the car, I want to get out, and you don't stop the car, are you kidnapping them now?
I don't know how close the line is, but I know if you go take someone out of their home, you're kidnapping them.
Well,
or
yeah,
if you go to an
clearly.
ATM, if you go to an ATM and you like rob somebody, but you make them get in your car, that's kidnapping. And actually, if you steal a car and there's a baby in it and you didn't know the baby was in it, that's kidnapping.
And there's probably a kid napping.
So
And
kid
the
would
kid
be
napping.
napping and you napped him. Knapped him.
Knapped.
Not nap, knap. So yeah, so kidnapping is one of those like you do not want they look for those charges, like if they really need to get you on something and they can't, they're like, did he kidnap anyone? Let's get him on kidnapping.
Well, I don't generally partake in criminal activities,
That's
so
a good
that's
thing.
good.
I'm proud of you.
Did
son.
you know that article that you were talking about with the emojis earlier?
Mm-hmm.
That it said something about the skull emoji replacing the laughy cry, and that is true.
Do you use that a lot?
I haven't converted yet, but a lot of people use the skull emoji.
I don't understand
It means
the skull emoji.
It means like I'm dead.
But it's not skull and crossbones. Oh yeah, like if you're laughing, like
You're laughing so hard you're dead,
Yeah, I've
and
used
then
that before.
it became I'm dead, and then it became the skull emoji.
Yeah.
So
No, I've seen like 5 or 6 of them. Like I'm dying. Like it's so funny.
We also say bet still, like bet.
I never understood that one
It's
because
just, I
to me
bet.
it's like I bet, right? Like
Yeah,
you want to bet.
It's just I bet. Like I actually had to look that up. It's basically just I bet. It functions
but you
the
guys
same.
say it in things that don't really make sense. Like
It's just an affirmative, like bet.
it's so weird to me.
It just
I
is,
just can't
like,
get on board with
It's
that
just
one.
affirmative, like do you want to go somewhere? Bet.
Why would you say bet? I bet. Is it like saying I bet? I bet.
It just is. It's just you say
like
bet.
you bet somebody. Oh,
it's
I
just
bet.
bet. You say bet.
Yeah, but when we said I bet, it was more like
I bet, Johnny.
I'm not your grandmother.
Oh boy. No, I don't know. We just say bet. That's what we say.
It's just weird. I know you've done it for several years, but I never quite
Bet.
understood
Well,
it.
there's a lot of stuff that, like, when I used to say lit isn't funny anymore. So no one says lit, but I started saying lit as I was making fun of the people who said lit, and then I just started saying lit.
You said lit a lot.
And then I started saying dog, like DAWG, because I was making fun of someone who said dog, and then I started calling people dog. And so sometimes you just like, you can't mock people, you become them.
It gets stuck in your vernacular.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that we don't have any of those. I mean, our things aren't really, we don't even cut our words that much, my generation. I'm trying to think back and like even for texting, you guys will text, you guys will literally text like you are, like you and the R.
I text pretty properly.
But when I see that, like I cannot do that. I have to like type out every word. I can't cut the words. Like I just can't. I type really fast and I can text really fast, but you'll never, how often do you see, the only time I do that is in Twitter, but that's only because I have to get within 140 characters.
Sometimes I say on my way OMW, and for some reason, Tim Apple or whoever is in charge of the dictionary in iOS has made it so that BRB stays BRB, AFK stays AFK. They all stay LOL is LOL, but OMW gets corrected to on my way, and it's always capital on, and there's always a exclamation point after way, and it looks stupid. And I always am like driving,
you're like saying on my way.
Yeah, and I'm like driving, and I'm like texting someone OMW, and then it changes to on my way. I'm like, I'm not gonna.
First of all,
I'm not gonna send that.
Don't drive and text.
Sometimes you have to.
No, you never have to drive and text. Sorry, can't. I forbid it. Anyway, no, there's some other ones. But maybe that's just your phone. Did it get used to you saying that?
It's like how the F word gets corrected to duck on iPhones.
Which is now
it's just one of the things that's in iPhones. You have to manually disable it.
Oh, I see it. There it is.
It'll do it. If you press spacebar, you're screwed.
Let's see. Oh, it did it.
It's disgusting.
Funny. I had no idea. See, I would never put OMW. So again, because I type everything out, I would never have to do that.
Why would you ever, like, if you really needed to, like, if someone was like, are you coming? Like, and you're like, putting your seatbelt on.
Can you imagine, like, people I usually...
On my way.
But think about it. The people that I usually text would be your grandmother, right? So what if I put OMW? She'd be like, what are you texting me?
Well, that's just a result of you not having friends.
I guess not. I don't know. Maybe my millennial friends would know that. I'm going to start doing that. To my nieces and to you. I'm going to find all of the acronyms and I'm going to use those.
I could go through like my texts with my friends and see like the weird nonsense, the weird things we say.
Well, we say weird things. It's just I type it all out. I type out all the weirdness.
I don't text very many people except I don't know. So I can't tell you.
I don't notice your stuff is too crazy. At least you respond.
To you? I respond to you more often than you respond to me.
You always say that, and it's so not true.
I'll text you, and then I have to go out of my room and say, Mom, I texted you. And then you're like, you did?
Because listen, this is how this is. So when all my little puppies are at home and we're safe at home, I can kind of a little bit put my phone to the side and not really have to think about it. But when I'm out or when you're out, I'm dependent on the phone.
Well, sometimes I text you when you're out and I have to call you in order for you to respond to me.
Not usually. Not usually. Usually I get that pretty fast unless I don't hear it or I don't feel the buzz because I don't have the sound.
I had Morty on top of me. Morty's our dog. Mm-hmm. And Morty felt my phone buzz. He was like, he like started sniffing my phone and like looking at me.
What is that?
Yeah, he was like having a hard time.
It's freaking him out.
He was shook.
That's funny.
But should we tell our audience that every time we do the podcast, we have a sleeping puppy right next to us?
He's very comfortable. I think we soothe him.
For some reason during the podcast, he goes like, he's like sleeping harder than normal.
Yeah, he's really like, I see the breath going and everything.
He's zen.
Maybe we're that boring. We're so boring. We bore the dog.
I don't know. Maybe he just wants to hear the podcast.
Maybe he wants to hear all about different. Maybe he's reincarnated from a different generation and he likes to hear about this stuff.
He's an old man. He's a boomer.
Wiggle your ear if you're reincarnated. No, he didn't do it.
He's not.
Guess he's not.
He winks at us sometimes, though.
He does wink at us. I think he's my grandmother.
And he bites me.
He bites everyone. He's evil.
Yeah, he's mean.
Don't ever bite a terrier.
But he doesn't bite. Like, he'll never break your skin. It's the weirdest thing. It's just like I put my teeth on you.
Yeah, unless he breaks my mother's skin, but that was because...
That wasn't because he was biting hard. That's because she pulled away and got herself snagged.
She also had thinner skin, that's true. But they were playing. It wasn't like he growled
he
at her.
wasn't even being mean like he normally is. Yeah.
But he was a puppy then. I think his teeth were still a little sharper.
He wasn't a puppy.
That was when we first moved in here. So that was 5 years ago.
Yeah, it was a little.
He was under a year old.
Yeah.
Or right at a year old. Well, I think we've put another one on the books.
Are we done?
I think that we've hit all of the current event stuff. And now I want you to stop. Make sure that you understand that there will be no more millennial side boob. I'm sorry. Because your generation has said it's wrong.
I don't know what the problem with side boob is.
It said it in the article.
I like side boobs. I like boobs in all forms.
I guess they call it a side. What did they say?
Are you sure it didn't say something else?
No, because here's what it said.
Who doesn't like side boob?
Here's what it said. The list includes skinny jeans. The Gen Z verdict set them on fire. Side parts. Gen Z verdict.
Side part is hair.
No, it says the middle part or bust. It's like the
middle part of your hair, like a side part.
Oh, so you guys could still do side boob.
Yeah, ain't no one gonna say no to boobs.
Oh, now
Gen Z loves boobs.
I see where I messed that one up. Okay, so side. So what?
Like you part your hair at the side.
You part your hair in the side?
No, I don't. My hair part's down the middle.
Not really.
Yeah, really.
Okay. Mine part's on the side. Does that mean I'm not cool? That would be weird if it parted in the middle. That would not be good.
My hair is either back or parted in the middle.
And then it says side parts. And then perhaps the most painful of all, the popular laughing, crying emojis that some millennials, myself included, use 100 times a day or more. Not myself, because I'm a Gen X.
I still use the laughy cry.
I use that laughy cry.
I use the side eyes. I use the roll eyes. I use the laughy cry. I use the blushing smile. I use the blushing wide eyes.
What is your most used emoji?
Probably the laughy cry.
Let's do the first 5. In generationally different.
Okay, so my first emoji is wait, is it down or to the right?
Down. Okay,
so my first emoji is laughy cry, so I use laughy cry the most. And then my second one is the smiling one with the closed eyes. And then my third one is the frowny face with the closed eyes. And my third one is the side eyes, which is my favorite emoji. And my fifth one is probably one of the most used emojis ever for Gen Z, which is the like about to cry emoji.
Which one is that?
The like cute cry emoji. The one at the very bottom left.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah, we use that a lot.
Oh, he's welling up.
Yeah, he's like it's like puppy dog eyes kind of.
My top one is the laughy face. The second one is the kiss. Because you always kisses, right? The third one is the shrug.
Yeah, I use the shrug a lot.
I use the shrug all the time because I'm like, I don't care, shrug. My next one is probably the guy with the monocle because I'm always being sarcastic. Like, really? We knew that.
Okay.
And then my last one is the roll eyes because I roll my eyes at everybody.
Good. No, but I like the welling up one. That's a good one.
And the slap your face. Like, oh my God, did you just say that?
Yeah.
I'm super sarcastic in my emojis, I guess.
You don't use emojis that much, at least not with me.
I do on my like Facebook posts and also like to text like Nana.
Oh, the dog woke. Hello?
Oh, he's awake.
He doesn't know what to think.
He's over our nonsense.
Well, I don't
I think
know.
that means that we're just about out.
Okay.
But I will say, don't forget that if you want to know about us, we would love to hear from you. Send us your questions and comments to Gen X and Gen Z at protonmail.com. We'll get back to you. We always answer your questions, and we'll add your information to the next show.
I hope ProtonMail sponsors us.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I like ProtonMail.
It's kind of weird. When you first made the email, I was like, it's not so common yet, right? Like Gmail. Everything's Gmail now.
Yeah.
Did you know what? You know my Hotmail account? That's my slut account. I put it into something the other day, and it wouldn't let me use it. It said I had to use a different.
Yeah, because all the Hotmail accounts are like fake spam accounts.
Which is so weird because like I've had that one since 1996.
Maybe you should make a new one.
No, because that's my slut account.
I have a new email now.
I would never get rid of that. I have like 70,000 emails in that email.
I'm kind of tired of all of my information being eaten by Google servers as soon as it comes to me. So I'm like,
oh, for Gmail?
I'm slowly transitioning away.
But what does ProtonMail do?
All your mail is encrypted. None of it's read by Proton. They make their money on.
Does Gmail read our mail?
Yeah, and they make their money. Gmail they have access to all your mail.
But do they read it? They have access to it. Or
they have access to it. They don't have. They probably don't sit and read all your stupid emails. But if they wanted to get some, and police warrants can get it.
What about with ProtonMail?
It's all based in Switzerland. There ain't no police warrant jurisdiction in Switzerland. Yeah, and they're funded not by ads. They're funded by donations. So
people just randomly give them
Yeah,
donations?
either donations or like they have paid.
Like Wikipedia?
They have paid email, which like gives you more things. We're doing an ad for them, but but they're not paying us.
I just didn't know a lot about them, but
No, I like.
maybe they'll pay us. I don't know.
Yeah, I want them to give us a spot.
So anyway, that's the end. Do you have anything else for this Valentine's Day? That I know you look at you. You were out. We were both out on amazing dates. We had steak though. That was good.
I went on a date.
No.
Oh. I was like, when did I go on a date? I sold something on Facebook Marketplace today.
I went to Trader Joe's and Costco.
I went to Home Depot and Ace Hardware.
Nice Valentine's Day.
With my dad.
I went with your dad.
Yeah.
He had
the most eventful day ever.
Yeah, he had the best Valentine's Day, and we made steak, so exciting.
Okay, we have to end the show now.
All right. So I'm X.
And I'm Z.
And together we're
X and Z.
Bye,
Great.
everybody.
Bye.